At the August 24th Lansing City Council meeting, over 150 people attended, with at least 60 giving public comments about a proposed letter urging the mayor to direct the police department to cancel their flock camera contracts. The police chief also made a surprise appearance to explain and defend the use of the cameras. In a 7-1 vote, the letter was approved. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum. Welcome to What Lansing Council, a podcast transforming Monday night's Lansing City Council meetings into an enthralling recap. I'm your host, Jill Dombrowski, and today my very special guest is Joanne Galloway. Hello, Joanne.
Hello, Jill. Good morning.
Good morning. Joanne Galloway is the founder and executive director of Michigan Country, a nonprofit focused on promoting the vote in rural areas in Michigan. She is a transplant to the area from the Upper Peninsula, where she managed a farm and advocated for better representation of rural issues at a statewide level. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Jill. But I want to just jump in with one point of clarity real quick. Mm-hmm. While I am the executive director for Michigan Country, I am here today with you on this call as myself.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying. For a bit of additional introduction, could you tell us, if council and the mayor promised you could make any ordinance change you wished and they would back it, what would it be?
Oh, I got it for you. We are going to then have a sanctioned tent camping and vehicle camping in the city of Lansing.
Nice. Excellent. Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't it be? Like, don't people deserve a place to be? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it's okay if I wake up in the morning and there's a deer laying in my yard or the park or whatever, but Lord help us if it's a human.
Yeah, no humans allowed. Yeah, and should that encampment be surveilled 24 hours a day, do you think?
Oh, my goodness. That's another whole call.
So, ready for the meeting?
Absolutely. That was, I hadn't been to a meeting in a while, so it was nice to be back. Yeah. And I think an overall theme of things that I want to bring out today is the growing community organizing of people who care about people that I see happening in Lansing. It's very, very heartwarming and very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at the August 24th regular meeting. The committee of the whole was canceled, and all of our council members are present, those being Ryan Cost, representing the 1st Ward, Dayanara Navarez-Martinez of the 2nd Ward, Adam Hussein of the 3rd Ward, Peter Spatafor, our council president, representing the 4th Ward. Our at-large members are Tamara Carter, Jeremy Garza, Claire Martinez, and Council Vice President Trini Pelivaniglu. Also present at the meeting is Greg Venker, the city attorney, Chris Swope, the city clerk, and Andy Shore, the mayor, and Mark Lawrence, the mayor's chief of staff. So a few things before the flock camera discussion. There's a tribute to Lansing's chapter of the NAACP, that's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They are having a fundraiser dinner October 11th. The mayor mentioned the Public Media Center staff, who usually helps with the audio visuals for the meetings, has had her baby. So welcome to the newest Lansing constituent. Also, he said the meatloaf at the senior fair was not that bad.
I think he might have said it was pretty good. Which was it?
Oh, yeah, I wrote
quote?
Down not that bad.
Oh, you are a direct quote. Wow. People got to be really careful with their words that they use. It's good to be intentional.
I did not double check that specific quote. There was one show of cause hearing for a property in the 3rd Ward on Long Boulevard. The representative was there and saying that the owner has recently had open heart surgery. They've retained an architect and an engineering firm, so they need a bit more time. Please don't tear it down.
And that was referred to a committee, right?
Well, that was a public hearing. So yes, it does go back to committee.
Okay.
And then it will come back again if it isn't resolved. So that wasn't the final decision there. Okay, there was one comment about a special noise permit from a resident saying these like exemption noise permits seem to be given out continually and they should be the exemption, not the rule. Please tell contractors to plan for rain. Sometimes it rains. And this comment did cause council to pull the noise permit issue out of their consent agenda. So that's just a bunch of things that they vote yes on altogether. And it was a 5-3 vote to approve the special permit, with council members Carter, Garza, and Cost voting no. Few more things. The New Vision Lansing. This is a 28-story grand tower going up on South Grand Avenue in downtown. Needed some sort of approval for some right-of-way, and airspace to connect their tower to their parking garage. And there was an awkward moment during the sea of flock camera comments when one of the contractors for the project was like, we're here if anyone has any questions for us about this. But no comments. That was granted. No worries.
Yeah, but hold on. Was that like a land grab from the city? Like, did we just give some corporation that's building New Vision Lansing? Like, what? It sounded, I had never heard anything about that till I was at the meeting. But is there like two big support pieces that are going to be out closer to the street? Is that what I gathered from that? How did you feel about that?
I mean, I guess like developer is going to develop. So great. Why wasn't that covered like in the original early some kind of permit plan? Yeah, that's a great question.
Oh, wait a minute. Now that we're 3/4 the way into building this, millions of dollar building, now's when we'll wait to ask you because we know that you really can't say no now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it's really about, so I'm not in a place to judge it. But
yeah,
I am, going to be 63 on Monday.
Oh.
And my experiences have left me a bit jaded and mistrusting.
Yeah. That's a good point. That kind of sailed through. So I looked at the language in the materials, but, it's like this X coordinate, XY coordinate is going over X amount of meters or something. There's no maps. That's something that I really feel is missing from a lot of this documentation is like, give us a picture. Like, I need the visuals, not just like the paragraphs long description of how many inches this is over from something else. Like, I don't know, for me that's
there's
not
a reason
helpful.
They don't provide all of that.
Yeah, that would have to be increased transparency, and anyways, so right, thanks for your comments there. And then lastly, President Spatafor at the end of the meeting is introducing an ordinance change to move around some general fund money. And I'm reading through this, and it is 0.0625% of the Human Relations Community Services budget going to the Economic Development and Planning budget. So I'm doing the maths here. HRCS budget in 2027 is $2.7 million. And so this ordinance would start in 2028, and it would like ramp up for 4 years how much money they're taking away from HRCS. So like, let's just say in 2028 that HRCS has a budget of $3 million. So they're taking a generous 0.06% of that, which I'm rounding up to $1,900, like not even $2,000. That's equivalent to 1.5 days of Dick Peffley's time, the BWL manager. So with $2,000, they are going to do programming, grants, and staffing to provide aid and assistance for a safe and secure housing initiative, which will be defined as homeowner safety and code compliance repairs, habitability and hazard remediation, eviction prevention and emergency rental or utility assistance, staffing, case management, and administrative costs necessary to deliver on these.
Oh, that could make a good headline.
Yeah. So that is something. I'm hoping that was a misprint on the documents, because at one point he says 2.5%, not 0.25%. Anyways, so he's introducing that. That'll be coming in to later meetings to be discussed. Okay, so flock cameras. You ready for the main deal here?
Sure.
All right. So I'm just going to set this up a bit. Councilmember Cost is bringing forward this resolution, and the resolution is for Lansing City Council to formally request that the city administration and the Lansing Police Department terminate all existing contracts and agreements with Flock for the operation or use of automated license plate reader cameras and not engage in any other AI-generated license plate readers agreements until policy is put in place for the oversight and handling of the data. Clear?
Yeah, but those last words really concern me. Oversight and handling of the data.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with all the examples we have in history of where our communities have been lied to, right? Whether it's the opioid crisis created out of whatever the name of the pharma something company was that said that the painkillers weren't addictive.
Purdue Pharma, I think.
Purdue Pharma,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like it was literally publicly pushed that these are not addictive. Doctors were told these are not addictive. And
Right.
that's where the opioid crisis is
Yeah.
rooted in.
Yeah.
The Flint water crisis, and many other examples in history. And there is no way you will convince me today, no matter what any of these corporations that do these ALR cameras say, that that data is not being used somewhere in the background. And if Chief Backus truly believes he's got the ability to turn a switch on and off as to where that data is used on those cameras, as my mother would say, I've got some swampland in Florida I could sell you.
I think it's so tricky because there isn't that sort of procedure in place to have like third parties verify any of this. Like you're saying, like,
well, think of the cost of that.
There's
not the money
done
in the budget to police that and enforce it. And you absolutely cannot, we as communities cannot continue to allow and the corporations to self-police. Right? Because it's all about the bottom line, right? It's all about the shareholders and how much money we've got to pay out to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, they've got all their lobbyists. They've got all the money. So this whole conversation for me, when they talk about, well, we need to take a little time and come up with some guardrails here and talk about how the data, it's like, I don't think we can trust anybody with that. There's no way to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I'm hearing, like across the country or industry-wide, is there's no proof that these are preventing crime, and we would be in a better position to be spending funds. That's $5,000. Was it a month per camera?
$5,000 a year per camera, 26 cameras at 7 locations. So it is $130,000 a year, which is a third of Dick Peffley, BWO manager's annual salary.
You're really on Dick today.
Sorry.
I'm hoping he doesn't run into you on the street this weekend.
It's fine. I mean, he's got the resources to take care of whatever he wants. Later in the meeting, the police chief is saying that there are 7 intersections under surveillance, and these are the most dangerous and most trafficked intersections. President Spatafor reminds everyone this is a business meeting, no swearing, no clapping. We don't want people to feel uncomfortable if they hold dissenting views. So, first commenter. Only commenter, in-person commenter in favor of flock cameras. And he states that he moved out of Lansing when city council decided to allow free on-street overnight parking. And he also says that modern cars and phones are constantly collecting data on where their owners are going. And the rest of the people here are holding the minority opinion, and council don't be swayed by them.
No. He seemed to overlook the fact that many of these other, maybe he doesn't know that he can go into his phone and shut off those location services so that he's not being tracked by his phone.
Yes.
And, maybe back years ago when my insurance company wanted to install a little device so that they could track all my movements in my car, and I said no. Mm-hmm. He probably was convinced that that was a good thing because he was going to save a couple bucks on his insurance, and he probably did that. So he's probably is being tracked, and maybe he should look into his level of digital literacy.
Yes.
Which I could see our room was filled with the other night, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that is what people did say in response. They're like, we have the option to opt out on our cars and our phones. And also, cars and phones are not specifically invented with the purpose of mass surveillance. So, there's some differences there.
Yep.
So then there's over 58 comments against the flock cameras. And I'll just run through kind of my...
What would motivate somebody who no longer lives in the city to bother to come to council meeting to speak out against the resolution?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
They hold a dissenting voice and they want to make sure that that's heard.
It could have been that somebody asked him to come too.
It could have been. So other people are saying we do not disagree that we need to protect public safety. We need safety, but there's always a give and take in society between safety and freedom. The more freedoms we give up, supposedly, the safer we are. But the data collected and shared by these surveillance cameras are a step too far, taking away civil liberties protected under the Fourth Amendment, which is to protect people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. This data is being collected without consent, warrants, or permission. The data shows the movement of people in our city, and this is a very attractive target for bad actors. These data sets have been hacked before, and they most certainly will be again. This surveillance state is un-American. We need to mistrust arbitrary authority. Don't tread on me, and don't spy on me. Even if you are not doing anything wrong, it's a bummer to be constantly surveilled and adds anxiety to people's lives. Some people are already going out of their way to avoid these. And the biggest laugh comes when someone says you don't need to have a weird birthmark on your butt to be upset when someone tries to pull down your pants. The police recently killed someone in Minneapolis because they didn't like being filmed. So it seems we can all agree that constant surveillance isn't that great. These cameras are part of a connected network that are being used nationally to aid in ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, operations to hunt and detain immigrants, to profile people seeking reproductive health care at abortion clinics, minorities, protesters, and dissenters. There have been many documented cases of misuse of flock camera data by police officers to review the location of their ex-partners, their hopeful partners, mainly women. Anyone who has the misfortune of catching the eye of a police person is at the highest risk of being harmed by this surveillance. There's some clapping after this, and President Spatafor says, let's keep the clapping to a minimum if we are not going to entirely refrain, because there is some clapping throughout, but people are generally being very respectful. Someone says independent studies have not conclusively shown these cameras reduce crime rates. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and the NAACP have issued briefs on how this technology has been used disproportionately on Black and Brown communities. The most effective way to reduce crime is not to increase surveillance. The most effective ways to reduce crime include after-school activity programs, improved primary education, addressing poverty, strengthening community ties, and larger trees. Crime is a symptom of poverty, not a fact of life. A mail carrier is there saying, I've witnessed violent crimes, and I don't think that these cameras would have helped. I feel like I'm being surveilled at work. A teacher is there saying, when I think about my own classroom and what keeps my kids safe, it's not cameras, it's snacks and basic working equipment. There are people who identify in their jobs as professors, data analysts, an LCC trustee, a former sex worker, artists, business owners, writers, an arborist, a Linux system administrator, who says there are so many places in this process of collecting, transmitting, and storing the data where the data could be hacked or misused. In cases when this flock data has been abused, there have been huge legal fees associated. Do we really want to carry that legal risk? Council, you're always talking about bringing more business to the city. This is going to deter international folks from coming to our city to visit or to live. We are the land of the incarcerated. Over 2 million Americans are in jail, more than in any other country. Criminals is an arbitrary label to target marginalized people. Crimes have been shown to be decreasing since the 1990s. Stop treating people as a problem to be intimidated and contained. We are not the threat big tech overreach is. The money behind Flock data centers and AI investment is unbelievable. This is the biggest peacetime investment in history. No amount of money has ever been put towards anything more besides war. These cameras help tech companies weaponize data to make money at any expense. Flock, specifically, is a private company, and they ultimately control the data and can do whatever they want with it. Don't trust them or the police to police themselves while using it. These cameras are reliant on artificial intelligence to process and categorize the information, and that is not always right, so this is laziness. What do we want our city to be like? Do we want strong leadership, strong communities, care, respect, and trust? These cameras are a breakdown of trust. Someone says, I trust my neighbors more than right-wing tech oligarchs, but that doesn't mean I want to be profiled based on the surveillance data of my neighbors. As things get more chaotic at the federal level, we need more stability at the local level. This technology does not value humanity. Do you see us as a flock of sheep or as a community that you are a part of? There are some calls to go further than this request letter to draft an ordinance banning these types of surveillance cameras and to do a third-party audit on past police departmental use. People identified that Meijer, Kroger, Lowe's, and Speedway are also using flock cameras. Let's ban these too. Someone says, I emailed the police chief about this and he never got back to me. I talked to a different police chief from another municipality, and this person said they would never use flock cameras because there are too many problems with them. The clerk says there are 30 written letters in addition to the people who were there to speak, and he summarizes saying that 29 were against the flock cameras and 1 was on the fence.
Well, I really thought it was great to see so many community members involved. Mm-hmm. I started becoming very uncomfortable several years ago as I was starting to see these cameras in different places where I would go, and I didn't like the idea that I was being surveilled. Mm-hmm. And then it was about a year ago that I brought up to a Charlotte city councilman when I was out there doing some work with Michigan Country. Mm-hmm. And it's somebody I had built a relationship with to where I thought, I could trust having a conversation with him. Mm-hmm. And and the reason I brought it up to him is upcoming on the Charlotte City Council agenda was the renewal of their flock camera contract. Uh-huh. And so I brought it up to him, a concern, and he immediately pushed back with, but they've helped us solve like 6 or 7 crimes in the last year. And I didn't have enough knowledge and information at the time. Like, this was more like trusting my, inner being kind of thing, feeling uncomfortable about it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have information to push back with him on it. Yeah. So it's been interesting over the last year to, learn more about, the whole picture. And it still makes me wonder, anybody who would, write and say, I support having these cameras because I think it's important to prevent crime. Yeah. I think really maybe needs more education, and they might find their opinion would change about them.
Yeah. So then, in a surprise appearance, Police Chief Robert Backus is there in the chambers.
That was so interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, I think it was appropriate that he had an opportunity to speak.
Agreed, yeah.
What the subject being on the agenda. Yeah. But it became clear to me later when Councilman Cost was speaking. Uh-huh. He seemed to be speaking directly to Backus, yes, and saying, we've had such a great working relationship. You never reached out to me. Yeah. I didn't know you were coming. Right, yeah. Now that I thought was interesting because I'm assuming it would have been President Spatafor, right, Chair Spatafor, who mm-hmm. would have taken the role to reach out and invite him to come. Why would you not inform all your council members that you had him coming? Right. Yeah, that's a good question. There were more police present at the entrance to City Hall than at the entrance to the chambers than normal. Like usually there's like one police officer who's sitting in the corner, but there were at least 4 people, at least when I came in. I've seen that in the past though, when we had larger turnouts, like crowds. From the Rent is Too Damn High or the homeless union, like advocating for the camp and that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of unfortunate because I don't think it's fair to our community members to have that intimidating presence there when larger crowds turn out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I was just wondering, like, if they were kind of taking a read on how the conversation was going and maybe, like, reporting back, like, oh, you should get down here or something.
Anyways, he appears and he's invited down to speak his piece about this. And so Backus is saying, thank you to the people who said that they care about public safety. Like, I'm glad we can all agree we care about public safety. The Lansing Police Department has been using license plate reading cameras for over 20 years. We have policies in place guiding our use of this technology. We're constantly reviewing and updating that policy. We have like state accreditation to use these. Like everything we're doing is like above board is what it sounds like he's saying. We have 7 locations with 26 cameras. It's not a secret where they are. In 2024, we had a grant specifically to get these flock cameras put in place. So we've only recently been like paying for them out of city funds. These locations were selected based on high crime and high traffic. It's used as a search tool. Every officer who has access, and he never says exactly how many officers that is, but he's saying they have to have their own login with 2-factor authentication. When searching, they have to put in an offense type, the case or complaint number, and like add some notes. So like those are additional checks on the searches being done. And the searches have been restricted to only like specific offense types. So he doesn't say exactly what those offense types are, but
somewhere it was reported that like records that they've FOIA'd and gotten, that column just says like investigation.
Great.
Well, that's, yeah.
Backus continues, our Lansing data is not shared out or searchable on the national networks by federal agencies. We've turned that like check mark off, he says.
Oh, now I feel better. I flipped the little toggle switch and I'm going to ignore the fact that I really have no idea in behind who has access to the data. I'm super gullible. Come on.
He says that this tool is not creating profiles or recording patterns, but only storing the license plate picture data for 30 days, and then it is deleted. And it's just the pictures of the backs of the vehicles. It's not facial recognition or driver identity, and it's not used for traffic citations. Like, that's the other cameras. So, like, the usage by the police. So he's saying in the past 30 days, which I guess is, like, the easiest thing for him to look into, the lowest count search that they did of the flock cameras was 7 in a day, and the highest was 90 in a day, which, like, seems like a lot. I don't know. It's like I don't have any context.
He went on to explain that though, because wasn't he talking about like re-coaching his officers how to use it? Oh. That literally that 90 was reflective of like an officer sitting there continually pushing the button to run another search.
Okay.
Where he was coaching them about
like you should do that or you shouldn't do that.
Like that's not an effective way. Like it'll it'll let you know.
I did not understand that. So thanks for explaining. Yes, thanks for explaining that. He says that we have opted into flock specific auditing of our use of the system. So flock will flag searches that seem odd. And he like doesn't say how many that have been done. And he's like, yes, I acknowledge that there are cases of abuse, but he does say all those bad actors have been held accountable, like in those other municipalities or whatever. He says we do penetration testing and there is encryption at every level. You can't access the network from a single camera. And then he reviews a few specific crimes in Lansing where this flock camera data has been helpful. Some stolen ATM machines, identified firearms and cars, like stolen construction equipment, assault with firearms. And he says that he's always sharing out these stories at the Lansing 360 meetings and with advancepeace.org. So they're sharing their data out to the community. And then lastly, he's like, video and photo evidence are the norm for judges and juries, and they demand and trust this evidence. This is the current standard that we are expected to meet as a police force.
That sounds very compelling.
I thought he did a good job. Like, he pled his case well. He was, like, calm and for the most part. So then the council members had questions. And Navarez Martinez says, have any misused, have you investigated any misuse by Lansing police officers? And it's like, no. Are you prepared to deny federal access to our data should they ask for it? And he's like, yes. Cost asked, of all the examples you listed, would you still have been able to solve those crimes without the flock cameras? And
hold on.
Yeah.
I think that we need to present that question a little bit differently. It was a very pointed question.
Okay.
And it was followed by a yes or no.
Right.
Right? Like
right.
Ryan had this question.
Yeah.
And he was asking for a yes or no.
And Chief Backus says no. And Ryan's like, I've got you because I have a recording from you from a previous meeting saying that isn't the case. And then Cost is like pissed, as you said. Like he reached out to Backus, or he felt like Backus wasn't communicating well with him. Cost is like, I checked a federal database for my own license plate that I'm assuming like hasn't left the area, and it appeared in a search. Why is that? And Backus is like, well, we turned off that sharing. Like we were sharing, but now we're not anymore. And Cost is like, well, when? Because this result was from 2025. So it's like a pretty recent result. No answer to that. Cost is like, the flock company controls the checks and balances on their own product. Doesn't this seem a little off to you? And he's like, and Backus gets a little angry here. He's like, well, do you have a background in this? Like, we're all just doing our best here. So Cost is like, in Meridian Township, where most of the officers are Lansing police officers live, they don't have these flock cameras. And does that mean Meridian Township isn't safe? Like, why aren't there where these people are actually living? President Cost says, even with these security measures in place, it sounds like we can still have bad actors that abuse the system. Carter says, you said not everyone in the Lansing Police Department has access. Like, how many officers? Answer is not all of them. Carter is like, where are the cameras specifically? And I think what he says is Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Saginaw, Oakland, and Holmes, Pennsylvania Boulevard, and Michigan, Saginaw, Oakland, and Miller. So a lot on like... So it's kind of like a bounding box, I guess. He's saying, like, Backus is like, we have them at like the big intersection so we can see like which direction people are going. Like, that's kind of what he's saying. Navarez Martinez is like, it seems like these are primarily in Black and brown communities. Are you over policing in these areas? And he's like, well, these are where the majority of the crimes are. So... Councilmember Carter says, what's the difference between these flock cameras and the normal traffic cameras? And Backus is like, well, the flock cameras are just picture, not video. The other ones are video. And Carter is like, well, isn't the video better? And he is like, it's not high fidelity enough to catch every single license plate number. So that's why we have the flock cameras. Carter is like, what's the cost? And he says $5,000 per camera per year. And again, 26 cameras, $130,000 a year. That's my understanding. And that covers repairs and whatever. Carter asks, are there other, this I think was my favorite question of the night. She says, are there other measures or tools that are better at preventing crimes than these cameras? And he is like, yes, community trust. Like, we've got to have coordination with the citizens. Like, that's paramount.
So that came from Chief Backus.
That's what he said.
Well, that's good.
Good job, guy.
Yeah, right.
Carter is like, we don't have all the community voices, all the voices from our community in this room. Like, trust has been broken, like, from what I'm seeing. We need to get trust back at a basic level. Pelivanoglu says, when we entered into these contracts, what was the reason? Was it for crime prevention or surveillance? And he's like, yes, in response to crimes. Pelivanoglu says, are you...
No, it was in response to somebody showing up offering you grant money for them. And who was that? Where did those funds come from? Who was motivated?
That's a good question.
To get these cameras into cities probably all across the country with this grant money.
Yeah.
That's what we need to track down.
That's a good question. Pelivanoglu says, are you currently using it for its intended purpose? And he's like, yes. Pelivanoglu, with all the controls and policies that you put in place, it sounds like you think you are doing everything you can to protect this data, but are there variables that are outside of your control? Could you see a way for the data to get out. And he is like, not to my knowledge. Polly Vonnegut says, at the statewide level, legislators are also working on this issue. So, we'll see what happens there. Councilmember Hussein says, what's the penalty for early termination of the contracts? Backus is like, none that I'm aware of. Councilmember Hussein, how many crimes have you specifically solved because of you have this tool? And Backus is like, well, we're not doing a great job of tracking that specifically. We use a whole host of tools at our disposal. And at the end, Councilmember President Spatafor is like, I want everyone to work together collaboratively, but I personally only had 4 days notice about this, and I don't like that, so I'm going to be voting no. And then it's like you never know the order of the vote because the clerk like switches it up each time.
I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah.
So even President Spatafor wouldn't have known the order of the votes.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
So the way that the order went was like I haven't written it down here, but it was like everybody said yes. Spatafor was last, and he was like, "Well, I guess I'm voting no because I said earlier that I was." But I think he was expecting other people to be like, follow suit a little bit. That's the vibe that I got. Yeah,
it was interesting, his, kind of under the breath comment that he made before he actually gave his vote that did allude to the, like, because I said I would be voting no, like I'm voting no.
Right.
Which just made me wonder. I mean, his reason that I understood about voting no was indeed, he mentioned he just got it 4 days ago. But also he felt like there was more in the resolution than what they had really even talked about there at the meeting that night. And that was his reason for voting no. But it made me wonder the way he made his little comment, like, could he have voted yes if he knew everybody was going to vote yes? Which, when you consider his voting record and what that says to the community, that would have been a big difference.
Yes.
I mean, because now he's on record voting to support the data centers and the cameras.
Right. Well, they didn't actually have a vote for the data centers, so we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
People do say often, like, thank you for not doing this data center thing, but the data center people left before they actually had the vote.
Yeah,
so we have an idea of who we think would have been opposed to it, but we don't actually have that recorded
They were never
vote.
forced to a vote.
I mean, they have said that they did that pause on the data centers, and I think I want to say that Garza was still voted in favor of that, but I don't I'm not 100% remembering that. Anyways, after the vote, Councilmember Hussein is like, I'm accountable to the folks I represent, and I saw opposition to my ward members that spanned all demographics. All of us up here on council, we ran on prioritizing public safety, and it is uncomfortable to take tools away from this. But we have to balance impacts versus potential misuse, and we have to support policy that affects future mayors and future police chiefs. Like, we might trust you now, Backus, but like, who knows who's going to be in this position next, which I thought was a good point to make. So then we have some wrap-up comments. At the end, someone says, thank you, council members. This was a long night. Thank you for staying curious and asking questions. Also, I noticed that the chief got over 30 minutes to sit down and speak and say all he wanted. Well, like, we get, 3 minutes each person. So there's something that I noticed. Someone says, I have filed Freedom of Information Act requests for these internal audits of the Flux system that the chief talked about, and I've been told that they don't exist. So I didn't appreciate hearing that. Also, we had someone in Lansing, a cop, that was like doing his side lawn mowing business, and he had documented issues with stalking his ex-wife. So to say that this like isn't happening in Lansing, I think is like a little false. Like, maybe he wasn't using the flock cameras specifically, but like that has happened here. Then there were some, like, switching gears, some folks from Town Square Apartments in Lansing, and these are near Jolly and 496, and 2 people living there saying that there's 524 units there that have recently been yellow tagged. Hundreds of families are living in poor conditions. They're not being well maintained. Like, we need help with these bad landlords. Like, please help. Someone says the weed ordinance is not very clear. Like, I want to grow native plants and species, but like, I don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Oh, I left and I missed part of the meeting because I transported home, did some things, and then I jumped on YouTube and watched more of it. So I'm excited that somebody did come and speak to that, because I think it's a travesty in the city right now with what we have it's a grass ordinance, which grass has a definition. And they're using that term to, in some cases it seems, talk about any thing that's growing in people's yards. And so I think that needs to be flushed out. And I think there's a lot of beautiful work being done by some of our community members with native plants and some really beautiful things in their yards, things that they're tending and maintaining and providing habitat and those kinds of things that I think really needs to have a closer look at, and a whole new ordinance implemented that talks about plantings and grass. And there's got to be some standards available out there from some organization that would guide our hands, because also obviously we want to be able to protect against having habitat close to homes that can harbor four-legged things that can be bringing disease in or things like that, right?
Sure. Yeah. So that was brought up. And someone else talked about the consumers' energy easement along Fenner, and how originally when consumers came in, they said that they could not put their new line right next to the existing one, and that's why they needed this additional easement. But interestingly enough, they have just said that they can do that. So maybe we should look more closely when we're talking to these energy folks or other utility companies about if they need the lands that they're requesting.
It goes back to trust again. And these utilities are proving over and over again that they cannot be trusted. We had a community member that was quite vocal last year who has lived for 20-some, going on 30 years with consumers' main line, that has an easement and butts up to the back of their property in the southwest side of town. And they've come to say that consumers will do what they say they won't do and won't do what they say they will do. But that's an important thing to remember. Because just because somebody asks you if they can have a land grab, take out your big old witness tree, whatever it is. If you start by saying no, you now force them to go back to the drawing board to see what other plans there are. Where if you just lay down and give it to them, you never know what the alternatives were.
They can be creative. Come up with some creative solutions, consumers. Flock, LPD. Let's see. Then somebody was this was an interesting aside, talking about charter things, and that in the charter there has to be a city market, and that is why the new Meijer downtown is called the Capital City Market. Then a pastor from a Robinson Baptist church was there, and I'm not familiar with this issue, was saying that he's being vilified. They've been trying to work with the city, I think related to some unhoused encampment on their property, but they had a meeting. The city isn't honoring what they said at the meeting, so very annoyed about that. Do you know anything about that particular issue? Or
Perry Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the encampment situation that we dealt with last year. But in this particular situation, the property owner happens to be a church. Who, if you can believe it or not, is trying to kick the homeless people off of their property.
Yes. Someone else is saying the Board of Water and Light bills are too high. We need discounts for seniors and low-income folks. This person likes the Michigan House of Representative candidate, Harold Pope, and was excited to be in a picture on one of Will Lawrence's campaign postcards. So,
well, there you go.
The best dressed on the...
Oh, I wondered if we still had best dressed. Oh, I'm so glad we got here.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
Could I guess?
Yeah, take a guess.
Man. It could be Nicole. I mean, Nicole had to be considered.
Yeah, she's always looking good.
What else was there? Oh boy, I wasn't like really thinking about it in that lens as I sat at the meeting. I'll have to get better at that. What do you got for us, Jen?
My particular eye is I like color, I like patterns. On the dais, I'm giving my best dress to Tamara Carter because I did like her flowy, like maroon top and matching pants, which I thought was very nice. And then of the commenters, I love a good print. So one commenter had space, planets, like a lot of black, but black top with planets, which I loved. And then there was a floral print near the end by a pattern designer from New Zealand, Mel Armstrong, whose work I really love. So that one I really liked.
Wow.
And then there was like a black and white offset parallelogram print that kind of looked like tire tracks, and I thought that was a good one. That was like very apt for the meeting.
Great. Yeah.
Swope again looking great. His shirt was like a sort of like a undersea like fern print, mermaid-esque.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about Swope, I think we've got a new entry that we're going to have to start talking about.
Oh, okay.
Zach Spurlock.
Oh, Spurlock, yeah.
Right?
He looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good too. He had kind of like a checker print and then like big oversized glasses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was the meeting. And any like wrap up thoughts you have?
Well, I mean, I am going to have to say, as the executive director of Michigan Country, that does encourage civic engagement. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, well done, Lansing residents. Yeah. Like, way to be engaged, way to get informed on the subject.
For sure.
Great community organizing.
For sure.
Keep it up. Like, that's how communities get served.
Yeah. For me, what I thought was really missing from this meeting, so at the end, there's a chance for the mayor to give comment. And this whole resolution was to write a letter to the mayor. The mayor could have said then, like, thank you for the people who care about this issue, who came forward. Like, I know this is like important, this like issue of surveillance and safety is important to people. Like, I really appreciate everyone's input. He just said nothing. Like, Mayor, do you want, like, what do you care about? Like, I just wonder what he sees his role as at these meetings, because it seems to me as just like observer, not here to add leadership or anything, just as an observer. And that seems like a bit of a loss.
I'm remaining silent.
All right. So if you enjoyed this podcast, I would encourage you to check out the Patreon page for supporting this work, and you will receive additional notes about the episode. And I want to thank a new member who has joined up since the last episode, Anya. Thank you, Anya. The next council meeting will be in 2 weeks on September 14th. Our guest will be local historian with the Capital Area District Libraries, Heidi Butler. Any other shout outs that you would like to give?
Yeah, I just encourage people to continue getting involved in their communities. I mean, we've got the midterm elections coming up in about 69 days. And there's a place for everybody to be involved. Choose your favorite issue or your favorite candidate.
Yeah.
You can do things from working on graphics for them with your computer in bed to, being out knocking doors and talking to your neighbors, to just casually having conversations, with the people that you regularly hang out with, talking about how important it is to cast their vote.
Yeah.
I'll be providing election education. Michigan Country has 4 sessions coming up, ranging from Grand Ledge to Hastings, Marquette, talking about, the systems that are in place with Michigan's elections that helps to secure our elections. We talk about the players and the process and the parts. Mm-hmm. And we'll also just be addressing any threats that we feel like, are potential to disrupt our elections, and how people can be a part of helping to prevent that.
Nice.
And so if people are interested in helping be eyes and ears on the ground on Election Day or during the early voting period, the best place to do that is working the elections for your local municipality or another municipality. Mm-hmm. But if you're not needed in that role, Michigan Country is coordinating teams of people that'll be on the ground observing and helping people get trained and be knowledgeable to do that work. So,
amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Really important stuff. Yeah. And thanks again for being on this podcast. Great conversation. Thank you to the Public Media Center for letting us record with you. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.